What's up you guys, it's 2bricks and I have a brand new vehicle mock to show you today. This is the Jungle X Hopper from the Rise of Skywalker, episode 9 of the Skywalker saga. And it's something that was in the movie, technically I think, but I didn't really see it. But when I got the visual dictionary for episode 9, there was a really nice picture of this vehicle in there, and as soon as I saw it, I knew that I had to build one. It has a really cool little kind of backstory and sort of in-canon explanation of what it does, and I'm excited to share that with you guys. So let's take a look. Alright, so here is the X Hopper. The X in its name comes from the fact that this is essentially just an X-Wing cockpit with a couple of engines strapped to the front and some little steering vanes at the back just to help maneuver the thing around. And I think it's cool that it's called an X Hopper because it essentially it kind of paints the picture of what this thing, the capabilities of this thing are. It's definitely not space-worthy. It's just for, doing general kind of duties around the base on Agen Kloss, which is where the resistance is located in episode 9. And it will kind of, take off with the fleet of different ships that are, getting ready to take off, and it'll just kind of help to guide them out. I'm imagining up at the front here that there are some lights or signals or something to that effect that will help the resistance fighter ships and stuff not all crash into each other as they take off. So that's a pretty cool kind of in-canon thing. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. Usually it's just guys with orange glowing sticks, like in real life, just signaling the ships to take off. So that's pretty unique. And I think what's really cool about it is that it's Rose Tico and her engineering corps, of which she is the leader of that in episode 9, developed this craft along with probably several others that are just kind of improvised vehicles to give the resistance as much of an edge as they can with the very, very limited stuff that they have on hand. So literally just cobbling together new designs out of old pieces of old ships. So yeah, this one just has a couple of these kind of slightly beefier engines here at the front. I like these intake fan pieces, so I went ahead and used those because that's perfect for that particular use right there. I have a lot of little interesting greebly details down in the center of this kind of open part right here. We really only have that one photo of it where it's kind of at this angle, and I feel like when you look at it you can see that there's a gap, kind of a split in the middle here between the two engines, and so I just wanted to kind of go with that design since we don't really know fully what the thing is supposed to look like from all sides. So this is my best guess. You can see there's kind of bar details on the top and just kind of things to make it look like this is handled a lot and it's kind of open. There's no cowling on it or anything like that. It's just the very bare minimum to make the thing able to get off the ground. So I think that's really cool. There's these kind of like little hose pipes down here, which I represented with these string pieces, and each of these is actually just one string piece that loops down and around and then is pinched under here with this jumper plate and just is held in place under there and then loops back around to the front, but I think that gives it a good look. I have included the little step here so that the pilot can step up on the way to get into the cockpit, and this does actually seat a pilot, so that's cool. I'll show you guys that in a minute. I have the landing gear down here, which for such a small ship there's no way that this can retract in any way. I mean, maybe it can tuck up a little bit, but there's no way that this fully disappears into the ship, so I'm just imagining this to be here at all times. And but I think that kind of gives it a cool look. Like you could just imagine it being ready to just fall out of the sky at any minute and just land down on these skids. So I think that works really well. And then these steering vanes back here are attached at 2 points, it looks like, on the ship, or maybe 3, with these very spindly connections. So I went ahead and used the Harry Potter magic wands to kind of give the illusion that those are held on by that. But up here they're just plugged into these little bracket pieces along the side of this kind of little air intake here. And I think that works really well. That holds them in at the right angle, and it gives it a really cool profile. When you look at it from the sides, it almost reminds me of something from like Tron with these side little brackets, which I really like. It's a very kind of cool retro look. In the back here I have just a couple of little greebly details for what might be some kind of exposed parts, some engine or some navigation or who knows what, just kind of hanging out of the back of the ship because, like I say, it's just the minimum amount of covering for everything just to make the thing seal up and be able to just get a guy in the air. So I think that's pretty cool. So we'll take a look on the inside as well here. We have a pretty nice setup. You can maneuver this around. You can kind of push this forward and then pull this up and get it over the top. But if you want to make your life easier, you can just pull these vanes off to access the inside. But yeah, there's a pretty nice little setup in here with ample room with a nice seat back, and there's no studs on this portion, but underneath, I don't know if you guys can see that, but underneath the console right there, there are a couple of studs available, and those would be what just plugs into the legs of your pilot. And actually, let me just show you that now. This is my token member of the engineering corps that I'm just going to place inside. So just get his legs ready. Oops. And just place him down in there. And then his legs are able to kind of, oh, didn't get them enough. I don't know what it is with these dark brown legs. They're super stiff. But yeah, just place those down in there. And then he can just sit in there with his legs underneath the console. And he has nice room along the sides here because I've used these panel pieces. So he's able to just sit in there nicely. And then you can just close this up. And he's able to pilot it. And there's even room possibly to get a helmeted figure in there. I haven't tried that yet, but yeah, he doesn't have to lean too far back. You know, I think that's pretty standard, kind of the 45-degree lean that LEGO figures usually have to do in these kinds of ships. So I think that works out really well. And I think having the console literally be like in his lap is perfect, because this is such a tiny, condensed craft that I feel like it actually would be down there, kind of just, you know, resting right in his lap. So I think that works out really well. So yeah, you have the standard console piece in there for the guy to look at, and then there's a little bit of extra deluxe detail in here with a kind of hollow screen, or maybe just a display screen in here that kind of sits forward in the cockpit. That's kind of something that I see in a lot of X-Wing designs. Like, they really try to fill up this front space, kind of like you would see on the interior of a car, where you have the dash and everything that just kind of forms to the windshield shape. And so I have that with the X-Wing, you know, using up all the available space. And then in the back here also I have just a suggestion of something. You could imagine that's the pilot's lunch, you know, maybe it's a little lunch pail or something, or it could be a first aid kit or something like that. It's just placed in there just to use up the available space that I have back there. And it actually also helps to set the angle of the chair correctly so that it doesn't go back too far or anything like that. So there's that. And then I think the overall look and the proportions of it, funnily enough, it's probably still just a little bit too big, because the X-Wing cockpit pieces are oversized anyway. This thing is listed as being something like 1.5 meters long in real life. So that's like not even as tall as a person, which I find an interesting measurement stat. But needless to say, it's one of the smallest ships that, you know, we've ever seen in the Star Wars universe. It's smaller than, definitely smaller than the Snowspeeders, definitely smaller than the Jedi Interceptors that we saw in Revenge of the Sith, and those, you know, were already really tiny. So yeah, this is a really cool design, and I think it's kind of important too, because to have at least some additional part of Rose's character like develop, kind of push forward in this movie, because it's the final one in the trilogy, and we'll probably never see the character of Rose Tico again. And you know, she kind of got a rough deal after being one of the main characters in The Last Jedi, and one that I really liked. She had to kind of get sidelined, unfortunately, in this movie. You know, it's one of those things that happens tragically. Carrie Fisher did pass away, and they weren't able to have any new footage of her, so they kind of tried to integrate the older footage that they had. Of course, you guys all know this by now. And then, you know, apparently a lot of those scenes involved Rose, and since they weren't able to finish them to the degree that they wanted, they just ended up getting cut, and so the majority of Rose's screen time was left on the cutting room floor. So that's a shame, but at least we have a new piece of Star Wars lore that is attributed to her character, and the achievement that she made of rising up through the ranks and becoming the head of a whole new division within the Resistance, the Engineering Corps. So that's pretty cool. And I like to imagine that she still uses her taser to motivate her workers to go faster. So that's why she's still carrying that. So there you go, guys. That's the design. If you're interested in getting instructions for this, I am happy to make them. I haven't done it yet, but if you guys request that and there's enough requests, I will go ahead and do so. Obviously, if there's no demand at all, I'll just go ahead and skip this one, and you guys can just see the design and maybe try to build one yourself. I think you've gotten a pretty good look at it at this point. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying the video, or if you guys are enjoying my channel, I would love to hear what you have to say in the comment section. Let me know if you want me to go ahead and make those instructions. Let me know if there's anything that I didn't show you that you wanted to see, and I'll just go ahead and see you on the next video. Thanks, you guys, and may the force be with you.